Welcome to Watcha Makin', a podcast about sharing ideas and connecting with the maker community. Your hosts are Alex Adams of Type A Furniture and Alex Duffey of Duffey Woodcraft. Watcha Makin' is proudly sponsored by NextWave CNC.
What you making in the shop today? Yeah. Got a couple Alice's to show you the way, from the blueprints to the shavings on the floor. Pull up a stool, let's see what's in store.
Welcome to What You're Making, a podcast where we all talk about what's on our bench, spotlight makers throughout the community, and remind you that today, May 6th, is the 89th anniversary of the Hindenburg disaster. There's a fart joke there, but I'm not going to go there. Tonight, its main topic is ambitious projects with a special guest, but more about them just a moment. I'm Alex Duffey. You can find me at Instagram and on YouTube at Duffey Woodcraft.
And I am Alex Adams, and I've got my own factoid. Did you know that the average person flushes a toilet 140,000 times in their lifetime?
Wow.
That's a lot of flushes.
That is a lot of flushes. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they count double flushes in that, so we'll have to dig into those details maybe later. But you can find me over...
Go ahead.
What? You can find me over at Type A Furniture on Instagram.
But you know who does double flush?
People with low fiber diets or high fiber, one of the two.
And our patrons.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. And they get special access, early access to the episodes through Patreon. So to become a patron over at patreon.com/whatyourmakingshow. And even if you aren't becoming a patron, there's other ways that you can support the show, sharing episodes with colleagues, interacting with posts, whether it's commenting, liking, sharing. We'll take any love in any form or fashion.
And definitely a review on Spotify helps grow the podcast as well. What You're Making is proudly sponsored by NextWave CNC. If you are looking for the best CNC on the market today, look no further than a Shark CNC from NextWave. For the month of May, NextWave is running an accessory special. Purchase any HD6 series CNC and pick an accessory up to $899 for free. Also, NextWave is doing a project of the month and is looking for teachers. So if you have a standout project that will inspire and appeal to a broad base of CNC users, or have an idea of a project that you think you can teach, reach out to NextWave on Instagram for more details. If your project is picked, approved, and published, they'll pay you up to $500.
That sounds way better than the Jelly of the Month Club.
Yeah, definitely. Unless it's habanero jelly, because you mix that with a little cream cheese on a cracker, you're good to go.
I'd have mixed feels about that. I'm not too keen on the spiciness, but with the cream cheese, it might tamp it down just enough for my very bland taste buds.
Well, for those who are watching on video, you've already seen him, but if you are listening,
who are you?
Tonight's main guest is a man who is known for ambitious projects, from a giant router sled with spiral spectrograph to a solid working walnut toilet. Please welcome to the show, Corey from Fortress Fine Woodworks.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Corey. How you doing?
Very good. How are you guys?
Good. So for those who don't know you, could you give a little intro to yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. I'm Corey Rush, and I am owner of Fortress Fine Woodworks. And basically, I build rather unbelievable things out of wood, primarily on YouTube, but we're also on Patreon, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook if you want to find us there. But our long form content is on YouTube, and the things we build are pretty insane and very high end.
Yeah. I mean, so I first found you when you did the spectrograph, because I thought that was just awesome, because I remember playing with those as a kid, and so I became a follower of the channel at that point and loved your projects ever since. But the most recent giant build is the walnut toilet, which, can you tell them a little bit, like, how did that come about? How did the idea for just doing a wooden toilet come around?
Well, there's really no telling. Even in the videos, I talk about this, I don't know exactly where the idea came from, but I definitely have different sources of inspiration. Like NerdForge does things with dragons, and that was probably the inspiration for the dragons. And Ali Spagnola, she does a lot of art with toilets. And so I imagine just from watching those channels over the last year, maybe that little seed was planted in my brain. And one day I realized, maybe I should try making this out of wood 100%. And it was definitely worth it because it's rather unbelievable for sure.
So where is the toilet today? Do you have it hooked up somewhere in your
It
house?
is installed working in my home as any other toilet would be.
So is it somewhere like if a guest comes over, that's like one of the things that you have to show them, right? When you give them the tour?
Oh yeah, usually we haven't had a guest yet that didn't know it existed. So usually the guest walks in and is like, "All right, where's the dragon toilet?" It's like the first thing they want to see.
They're like, I loaded up on meals so I could use it, so I'm ready.
Yeah, one gentleman even said, "I might just have to sit down to pee to experience it." Which I believe they do in Germany already anyways, so no shame
Yes,
in
that
that.
is a thing in Germany.
It is something. I actually know quite a few people that I work with who we've had this conversation, and that they do that themselves. It's they don't like the splash. So, no. Alex, what do you have anything question wise before we get going?
No, I think you covered the important stuff.
The toilet has been covered. All right. Well, why don't we get moving along then?
What you doing?
So this week in our What You Making segment, so on my bench, as our listeners know, I've been prepping up for the big UFO Fest in McMinnville coming up at this point in less than 2 weeks away. So I've got about 90 UFO lights, my little night lights that I make with light up UFOs that are on my bench in various forms of production at the moment. And so that's taking up the majority of the time and probably will for the next 2 weeks because the electricity takes a long time and then the finishing and all the miniature work with the Sasquatch and the trees and all that stuff all takes a while. So that will be the majority of the next 2 weeks of mine. But I did already sell one without even it being finished yet. Somebody called me who saw my booth last year and took a card and said, "Hey, I'm going to be there. Are you going to have any of the magnetic floating ones again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm planning on making 3 of them." And he's like, "Well, put one aside for me. I want it. I will buy it right now." And so I was like, "Well, I'll take a deposit." And voila. So, which is pretty cool to know that I already, basically paid for the booth fee at this point already, which is nice. And then I did a big batch of 50 of my travel cribbage boards this weekend because a couple of my retail partners were getting low. So I needed to do a big batch of those. And I talked about this last week. I had got a giant slab of walnut butcher block that was meant for a table. It was a 4x8 slab that somebody was selling cheap at the local resource center. And I cut that up to fit on my CNC into the smaller format. And I used that to make all my cribbage boards. And it is so nice already having a flat to the right size wood that I can just cut everything out. I could batch them. I was able to cut 20 cribbage boards at a time instead of doing basically 2 at a time on average. So it was so nice.
That sounds really
You've done
nice.
butcher block with that before?
I haven't done butcher block on for those before. This is the first time I have found like a good price of butcher block in the area at the right thickness. So
Yeah, it must not be quite as thick as like normal butcher block, I imagine, right?
it's 1.5 inches. So
Okay.
normal butcher block goes between 1.5 inches and 2, depending on who's making it. But everywhere, normally I find it for 2, and the cribbage boards are too thick at 2 inches. I usually do 1.5 inches anyway, because I put the storage of the pegs and everything underneath. So
Yeah, that
How
must
was
be
the
a
hole
nice
drilling
cribbage
in end
board.
grain?
what'd you say, Alex?
How was the drilling for each of the holes going into end grain, doing that repeated operation?
So it's side grain. It's not it's not an end grain cutting board butcher block. It's all side grain butcher block.
Oh, okay. I guess anytime I think butcher block, I immediately assume end grain butcher block.
Yeah.
So I guess I had assumed that connotation there. So I was like, curious. I was like, oh yeah, drilling into end grain. That's a interesting way to do a bunch of holes. So that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. But I definitely burned up 2 bits of my drill bits because I was going at my normal speed for the first one, and as I've talked about, I love the lightning drill bit from IDC Woodcraft for this. But don't think it should do more than about 5 cribbage boards in a row because of the heat buildup on the bit. And so as I was about on the 10th board, it was really tearing out. So I pulled it out and put a new one in and restarted. And then again, the next bit burned up in it after about 10. So I think what I'll end up doing for the next batch when I do this again is I'll build some pauses into like the G code, and I'll put a 20-minute pause in there so that I can basically let the bit cool down and then start up again.
Yeah, because it's how many holes per cribbage board?
The travel size are a half game, which is 72 holes per track, and there's 3 tracks. So what is that? If I do quick math here,
A little over 100, or wait, no, like 210.
Yep.
A little bit more than that.
Yeah, something like that per board,
220.
and
216, I think.
yeah. So if let's just say 200, and if you do 200 times the 20 boards I was cutting out at a time, that's 4,000 holes. So
Yeah,
That's
a
insane.
lot of material.
it's a lot of drilling. So yeah, it was building up heat. But anyways, that's what's been on my bench this week. Corey, what are you working on in your shop?
So speaking of CNC stuff, I'm starting a rather CNC heavy project. I'm building a out of this world wedding arch that is going to be traditional Gothic themed with Gothic arches and that detail work that you see when you think of Gothic arches. And
Yeah.
I suspect I'll be going through quite a few CNC bits and potentially even a spindle in the process.
Well, I hope not a spindle, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. It's after modeling it in Fusion, it's looking pretty hefty. I still have to make all the CNC paths, but I imagine I will be running that CNC straight for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
How big of an
Gargoyles,
arch
yay
are
or
you
nay?
doing?
I'm sorry?
Gargoyles, yay or nay?
No gargoyles.
Oh man, I was hoping for some.
How big is
gargoyles on it.
that?
That'd be awesome.
The arch going to be?
It's 10 feet high and 7 feet wide. And I don't want to disclose too much because there's going to be a lot of features that it has, but it's going to be quite an epic build and enough where I'm actually nervous about it. I don't get nervous too often with my builds, but this one, there's a lot of unknowns for sure.
What CNC are you running?
I'm running a Onefinity Elite Foreman.
Okay. So
What's the
that's the
workspace on that?
4x4.
Oh, the 4x4.
Yeah. 4x4, yeah.
Okay.
So it has to get
So I
broken
assume
up
you're doing
into
some
a lot of different
tiling.
pieces. Yeah.
How about how so for this arch, I mean, I'm not going to go super into detail, but I'm just thinking like just the thickness of this thing to be able to support itself, and just like the weight in general of how heavy it's going to be.
Right. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be fairly thick, maybe 6 inches at the thickest point. After everything gets attached, there's different accents that get cut at different times on the CNC that will get attached on, and to make the actual final product. Because of course I can't throw a 6-inch thick block on the CNC and expect my bit to be able to cut through its full thickness. It's just not possible. So things have to be built in stages, and so it'll be set up in stages as well, so that the weight is reasonable per piece.
And then is the CNC doing all of the detail work, or are you going to be doing some of it post-assembly?
I guarantee we'll have to do a lot of detail work to sharpen corners or whatever it may take. I might be lathing a few pieces because there's some cylinders, some column features, things like that. But I still don't know. There's still a lot of unknowns, but it's going to be fun because there are so many unknowns. That's what I prefer in a project.
Nice. Can you tell us what are you making it out of?
Rustic walnut, because all of the features at this particular wedding are going to be made out of rustic walnut. So it's just making everything cohesive.
Nice. I can't wait. Are you doing a video for this?
Yes. Yeah, there will be at least one video, if not two videos in the process. And I just finished a table that is really, really unique, honestly. I have never seen anything like it. It has kind of a splayed base, and I don't want to give away all the details, but you'll have to go watch the video. It's really cool. It has brass inlays and really interesting joinery where there's mortise and tenons, but they don't go in straight. They go in at an angle. So they have to have angled shoulders cut on them, and those are hand cut. And so it was quite a process, and a very special jig that I made so that I could cut angled mortises with a chisel, since you can't do that with a router because the router base itself would hit the material and you wouldn't be able to get deep enough. So it's a rather cool video, and it's live right now.
Nice. I'll have to read. Well, I haven't watched that one yet, so I'll have to see that. Anything else on your bench this week?
Honestly, that's just it. I have large projects. It sounds like you have many medium projects.
Many smaller projects. Yep.
Yeah.
Alex, what about you? What have you been working on?
So this past week, I assembled my CNC that Next Wave sent. So I finally got to get everything put together, open the boxes, go through, find all the fun stuff, and go through and set that up. And of course, I filmed all of that stuff to kind of do a very brief video, not like a assembly tutorial, but more of just like an overview of the experience and just highlighting some of the areas. So, I mean, I had to, I tried to have it be more of I don't want to say story because I don't think I put that much into it to call it a story, but the kind of the path that I'm covering is just the experience of getting a new CNC without having had a CNC in the past or used a CNC in the past. So, from receiving it, clearing out space to actually set it up, and then taking everything out of the boxes, doing the assembly of some of the, the hardware things, hooking up all the cables and everything. Because, in summation, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to assemble the hardware on it, since a lot of it comes fairly pre-assembled, I would say. So that's kind of the overarching what I'll have, because I'll have a video released as a reel by the time this show airs, because I have all the footage. I just have the last little bit of some voiceovers to throw in there to bring everything together. So I was particularly excited about the fact that when I was going through and getting acquainted with the pendant, the 10.1 inch pendant, that I had found, it was I think it was like the Christmas stuff in one of the menus, and so they had Christmas songs in there that you could just play, that it would go through, and through the mechanical whirring it would hit the notes. So obviously I had to play with that a little bit. So that was a fun little Easter egg that I was not aware of prior to setting up, and so that was fun to just come across that organically. So I had a good time with that.
Yes, for those who don't know, with the new 10.1 pennant from Next Wave, they have a built-in little Easter egg of Christmas songs. And because stepper motors, especially closed loop system, create some tones, if you move them in the right direction in small increments, they can basically make 8-bit music out of Christmas songs. And so Next Wave did that. I think it was 2 Christmases ago. They sent that update out. I actually have an email out to their guy. I want to get a specific song added to it, or at least sent to me, so I can do a reel around it. I think it would be really funny. So,
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
yeah, it's super funny.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was like, and I just have an appreciation with my engineering background for something that is put together well and something that just has like no slop. Because like when I put stuff together and assembled it and just like touching like the spindle and everything like that and kind of pressing on it and just feeling absolutely nothing happen when you're pressing up against it, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's nice. Like just like tolerancing and that kind of stuff, I have a great appreciation for it because I know how difficult it is to attain that. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, some good work was put into making this. So yeah, I'm very excited to dive into it. So like I've got the hardware all set up, like everything moves and whatnot. So the next stage will be a few initial calibrations and then starting on some projects. So they did send a V-bit in with that entire kit, and so I have something to use to begin with. But since a lot of the bits that I end up using, profile bits I have is like a 1/4 inch shank, but a lot of the ones that I use for like surfacing and whatnot are a 1/2 inch shank. And I don't know if that spindle can take the 1/2 inch shank, or if they just only came with the what?
Is it the 2 horsepower or the 3 horsepower?
2.
The 2, I think, can only go up to a 3/8.
3/8 shank. Okay, yeah, because it included the collet for the 1/8 and the 1/4 inch. So I went ahead and put the 1/4 inch in because that's probably what I'll mostly be using for that one. So it'll be a lot of fun diving into the world of like CNC bits because I've been acquainted through what you have said in past episodes of like, oh, these are the the bits that you have, and so I need to go back through and pick out some, and obviously I need to pick out some cheap ones because I know I'm going to break stuff. So we'll see. But I was also really excited about the XYZ touch plate that came with it as well. So that one I'm really excited about, with just me nerding out about zeroing and centering, like that kind of stuff. Like just shows how nerdy and engineer like I am, where it's like that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited. So yeah, that's that's the one of the many fun things of the TISM.
Next time I go out to Next Wave, I'll have to have you come up too, and you'll get a kick talk because they're all engineers. Like everybody who works there is an engineer.
Oh
you
yeah,
get a kick hanging out with them.
Yeah. So that's a lot of what I had for the a majority of what I was doing this past week. And then I know I've mentioned in the past couple of episodes, so my grandpa had passed, and actually the funeral was actually today. So we had the funeral service and then taking him to the cemetery, which was not in the same town. So that's why it kind of got drawn out as a kind of a whole day thing. And so my grandpa, he delivered babies. Like that was his thing. Like he delivered like over 3,700 babies in his career. And that was just in private practice, like including his residency, it was like over 4,000 or something like that. So he's a physician by trade. And so he had spent a short duration of time serving the Air Force early on in his career. And so he had military honors for the graveside service. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, that included putting, because the actual casket that he had, I'm pretty sure it was oak. And on each of the corners, they had emblems of something. And so one of them was an Air Force emblem that was like, we're talking like a 4-inch diameter roughly. And it's one of those ones that has like the enamel paint on there. So it's that kind of fit and finish. And then there was another one that had a cross on the other side. And so what my mom is having me do is create a display out of those with some of the shell casings from the 21 gun salute. So I've just kind of been in a little bit of the like design phase of like how to incorporate these into one plaque or single item. So I'm kind of running through different ways to outline it. So I'm kind of trying to figure out how I want to present that, because the flag that they had received, they had already ordered a case to go with that. And so so my mom has a brother, and so I think that flag is probably going to go to him, if I remember correctly. So then what I'm making would probably be more so for my mom as a memorial piece. So I'm excited about it, but it's, again, one of those projects that has a very much sentimental value. So it's like you don't want to screw up with something because you only have this one item that you've gotten. So it's like if you break something or something travels too far and it's like replacement is not really the option there. So you've got to get it right on the first try.
Yeah, at the same time, though, it's an honor to be able to make things like that. Just being a creator, we have the capabilities of doing things like that, and I think that's an honor, And I think you'll be just fine. You're not going to make an insane mistake that's going to ruin these objects. I don't think.
Yeah, that's the anxiety in me, because like,
I hope not.
Yeah, and this was the woodworker that came out at me, because obviously I'm going to look at this casket and critique its, fit and finish. And I'll be honest, it was not up to my standards. Because like, I don't want to knock other people, but it's like mitered gaps and like stuff where you could see sanding swirls and spots even on some of the handles, where I had noticed like it was not sanded down, like you could see milling marks on some of it. And I'm just like, and what you said, where it's like, for something that you'd be, you want to have perfect, it's like seeing that you're just like, I wanted it to be pristine, right? So yeah,
sacrilegious to say, hey, like, let's wait on the burial. I need to do some sanding on this thing first.
Gosh, I would have had stuff in the car. I mean, that would have, yeah. Anyway, but the important boxes had been checked. Of it served its purpose. So it's like, yeah, you can't wait on me to build something like that. So,
yeah, that's one of those things too that kind of freaks me out. So I totally see that. Like, I had somebody reach out to me, I think about 6 months ago. And they wanted me to do a custom engraving with the CNC on their grandfather's rifle stock. And the stock was from like the Revolutionary War that's been handed down through the families, and he just got it from his uncle or grandfather or something. And I was like, nope, that's not what I'm going to do. Like, I appreciate it, and I love that they trusted me to want to do that. The fact that it is an antique that you cannot replace. Like, if I messed it up, if it cracked during the process, anything like that, there is no way I could replace that with the original wood or anything like that came from. So,
yeah, because that's why, because the first thought that had come to my mind with the shell casings was, doing something in epoxy. I'm just like, I just haven't done enough with epoxy. Like, I know what to do on here, but to me, I'm just like, I would prefer to do something that's not in epoxy. Like, I don't have to do epoxy. Like, it's a common thing to do, but I don't have to do it. Like, I saw other types of displays that went a different route and it still looked great. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just not going to do that for this project, because like you had said, it's like I don't feel comfortable doing that for this project because it's either outside of my scope or there's too many unknowns here that I don't want something to go sideways.
So the first thing that popped off my head, where I'm like, if you don't want to make it destructive, as in like using epoxy, what if you made like, say, a walnut frame? Because I love brass and walnut, the way they look together. And then you drilled holes into the frame, the diameter of the shell casing, and so you put the shell casing in, but out, so you can see, the shell itself, but not the hole where the powder and stuff was, but the other end.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different designs
kind of
that
like
are
rivets.
Yeah, that's what some of the different designs that I had looked at, where they press it in, so then the primer on the bottom of the casing is what you see. So you can do it that way. You can display it so it's the entire casing that is upright and vertical, so you see the full length of it. So there's a lot of different ways. I'll probably play, because the good thing is it's small enough of something where it's easy to put it in front of you and kind of like set it on some things and move it around and just get a little bit of a perspective on what looks good. And that's another consideration, is like the wood to go with it, because it's something where it's like, to me, walnut or cherry pops out because cherry will darken over time. So it's one of those two where, do you plan it for how it looks immediately right now, or something that patinas over time? So those will just be some considerations that I'll just have to weigh as I start making decisions.
Yeah, that's also why I think it's smart of you to pass up epoxy then, since epoxy does age and all epoxy is yellow.
Yep.
Ultimately, you would have that patina. And so, considering all patinas in the project, I think you're going the right route.
Well, on that route,
And nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong.
so what went wrong this week, Alex?
So I'll stay on that same topic. So I alluded to the casket already, of like, it wasn't technically something that I did that went wrong, but like seeing the craftsmanship on that one, where I'm just like, it's just not what I would expect it to be. So something else that had come up was, since the graveside service was fairly brief, some of my nephews, they're like, hey, well, we want to watch them actually lower it down, because they're just interested, they're intrigued. And so we stuck around for that portion, and they encase the casket in that, I don't know what the name for it is, but that larger, it's usually like metal of some kind, casing. And so on that one, they have some stuff on the top, and they also have a nameplate. And as they were lowering it, we looked at the nameplate, and they had spelled his middle name wrong on that.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, so we were, so like, I saw it and I was like, because I didn't, like, I knew his middle name from like earlier in the day, of like, because I didn't pay attention to my grandpa's middle name. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure that, like, I saw that and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's wrong. And then a couple others had noticed it and then brought it up. And so fortunately, it was something that could be fixed, because it was like a metal nameplate that was engraved. And so, since I believe it was a local company that does that final portion of the ceremony, that's something that they can swap out and put back in before they actually do the final covering of the casket with the remainder of the soil. So it was fortunate that, like, it's like, okay, like, we can get this resolved. But it was just like, because the thing that everyone knew about my grandpa was that he was very particular about everything, and I mean everything. Like, he had planned out the funeral service down, like, he had picked every single detail, like hymns, scripture, like order of events of stuff. Like, he had everything outlined. So we're just like, yeah, like he would have definitely like caught all of the details and got everything like straightened up as nice.
So
So-
this is where you got it from.
Yeah, obviously it runs in the family. Obviously hereditary.
Corey, if you don't know,
So-
Alex sits here and like corrects my spelling and grammar in our shared notes during the show. So like I'll be talking and all of a sudden I'll just see him retype and fix my stuff. So
I can't help myself.
Well, because it has to be
and
right.
it's-
That's why.
Exactly. It just
Yeah.
has to be. And it's just like, that's why I always zero in on anything that's like in all caps, because it doesn't get spell checked. So it's more likely to be something that has an error in it. So like, I like always check that stuff as well. So yes, it's definitely hereditary, for better or for worse. So that was that portion of it. And the other thing, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but with the nephews helping pick up the cartridges afterwards, they like something that they hadn't had exposure to. So, they like smell and look at, and one of them, my nephews, I can't remember which one it was, if he's like 3 or 4, but she's like, because they had said like he served in the Air Force and everything like that, and so like he smells like, yeah, that smells like the Air Force. Just everyone broke out laughing. Just like, just the funniest phrases that kids come up with. So that was, it's fun to have. It's nice to have some of those lighthearted moments during those times of where it's a little bit difficult emotionally. So yeah, it's fun to have that that balance come back into play. The other thing that I have, not really making related, but my my in-laws had wanted me to replace the ink on their printer, and of course, like, as soon as you do it, it breaks, and so then you've got to fix it. And so it was one of those things where it's like, because I always buy like the genuine ink cartridges, because I know as soon as you stray away from that, you're just bound to have issues pop up. So it was one of those things where they had gotten like a remanufactured one, because obviously it's cheaper. And it's just like, when I first put that in, I was like, oh my God, I know I'm going to get a call about this. So naturally that came up. So that's still an in the air thing, because we hadn't been home all day today. So that's something that's still on my list to fix. But yeah, anything that comes up with a printer is always a headache, regardless of what it is. But apparently it's fine now with 3D printers, but they need the regular 2D printers to be more bulletproof, like the 3D printers.
I agree, 100%. We have 2 printers in our house that are not working right now, and I have 4 behind me that are 3D printers, of course, that are working perfectly fine and always have been.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wish they were a little bit more robust.
Yes.
Yeah, my mother-in-law calls me, I would say at least every other week, that her printer disconnects from their Wi-Fi and won't print anymore. And it's just, yeah, they have a lot of bugs. I think HP got very compliant or complacent in what they do.
Definitely.
Corey, what about you? Anything not go well in the shop this week?
Well, I think I'm having a lucky streak for the last month, because not too much, to be honest, but I've definitely had some rough ones in the past. Like, I don't know if you've seen my fire-vortex video, but I built an entire table to have a fire vortex out of the center of it, and it exploded in my face and could have killed me, but I was very lucky that it didn't. And so I've definitely had some things happen in the past, but I'm very lucky to say that this last month has been a good one. At most, I would say my shop is a little bit dirty from making different wedding related items that are not for videos. And the arch is going to take up so much space that the shop really needs to get cleaned up nice and tidy. But other than that, I think I'm grateful.
That's awesome. For me this week, for those who are watching on the video, if you look at my eyes, our viewers know the last couple of weeks I've been having eye issue on my left side. We thought it was like allergies or whatnot. Apparently, it's something called iritis. It basically means my pupils.
That sounds
inflamed.
made up. That
Yeah.
sounds like
That's
something
what
a
I
3-year-old. What's wrong with your eye? Iritis.
I know. I have a pamphlet. I forgot where it's somewhere, but I like sent a picture to my wife, and she said the same thing. She's like, "That looks fake." It's like, I know. It's apparently an autoimmune response to something happened to my eye. They have like a long list of things. I think it's a catch-all for they don't know, but it just means my eye is inflamed, and so I have now another set of drops. But right now, it's because of the drops. One eye is very wide. It looks like I'm on drugs compared to the other
Just
eye.
one side of your brain is on drugs.
Just one side. So there's that. And then also the people in the video, I sanded off the tip of my pinky this week.
Ouch.
Yeah, I was using the oscillating spindle sander and 60 grit, and it just caught on a chunk
Ouch.
that came loose on the wood. My hand slid right into it, and I took off most of the pinky nail bed and the tip of the finger. So.
Was that the actual spindle, or was it one of the ones where it was like the short belt?
No, the actual spindle one.
Oh, the spindle.
But the piece of wood, I was using a round piece of wood as I was getting some curved spots in, and the part was a little knotty, and the knot broke, and it just twisted the finger right into the spindle, and it caught between the wood and the spindle. So
That's basically what happened when I was drilling, and I drilled off like a portion of my fingernail. It was like the same thing where like something that I was drilling broke, and so it caught the twist of the drill bit and it pushed it in a direction that was not expected.
Yep. Yeah, I always say my UFOs are made from blood, sweat, and tears, and it's true this year again. So
Yeah, that 60 grit will get you. Ouch.
it goes quick. I mean, it was just a quarter of a second, but with that fast and that thick of a grit, just
Ouch.
yeah. I remember it hit and I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is gonna hurt in a second. Oh, there it is. It's just that moment where the nerves weren't there anymore, and then they're like, no.
Yeah, they just
Definitely.
are immediately on fire.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of no, not on fire.
Shut up and take my money.
So just some quick sales. We haven't done the segment in a little while, but I know myself. I just wanted to mention because we have a lot of people ask questions about like my retail partners and stuff, and so I actually turned down a new retail partner today. I work with a couple of retail stores and make their small knickknack and wooden gifts, and I had somebody reach out to me. They already had a woodworker that did a lot of laser stuff. So she did earrings and small serving boards and bookmarks and what was the other thing? Earrings, bookmarks, coasters. Yeah. Anyways, like 4 of the 8 retail items I sell at these stores because they're the quick, easy things that are easy to make in large batches and make a good profit. So she's like, yeah, well, I don't want you to bring those items. So if you just bring these other ones. And I was like, well, that's half of what I do wholesale items for. So it just didn't make sense. It was too limiting. So I turned them down. So I just being honest about the process for a lot of our listeners who ask that question is just, not all, I won't say yes to every opportunity if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because if your top line revenue potential for that location is essentially cut in half, doesn't make it worth it to like send stuff over there, restock it. It may not, because your base amount of work that it takes to support that store, I mean, might be enough that you would basically be, I mean, I don't know if you'd be breaking even barely on that, or if it would just be, a high maintenance but low output location for you.
Yeah, it definitely, it would be the latter. Definitely. It'd be I'd still make a profit because of the way I price things, but it would be a lot of input and not as much profit. And the other thing that also I was already on the fence of, because everyone I work with, I'm blessed to work with some pretty awesome stores that all have digital inventory systems. And so I can log in and see what products I have there, how many are left at any given moment. She doesn't do that. She just gives you a printout of what you sold at the end of every month, which means I got to take her word for it. Which, hopefully you trust the person you're a partner with, but at the same time, like, that means I have to go to the store physically every month to figure out exactly what I still have in stock. And I can't check throughout the month if something is sold out. So
Yeah,
it's just
that
a
makes
lot of
sense.
inventory management.
Especially since some of those items are easily stolen, unfortunately. And so
Yeah,
you would have to physically count the items yourself, because you can't just go off of what she sold. Your inventory numbers could be wrong, you know?
exactly. And like my stand of bookmarks, for example, like bookmarks, I have a stand that is 20 different designs and it's 10 of each. So that's quite a few different bookmarks that I have to, keep track of inventory and count every week and not have to be able to easily look at. So yeah. So I think all of that as a combination, I had told them no. And unfortunately it sounds like I burned the bridge because she was not happy in her messaging back, but, that's on her. And to me, I don't think she should have reached out to me in the first place, because I gave her the list of products that I sell. And if there's overlap there, you probably shouldn't be trying to create somebody who is so close to another one of your vendors, in my opinion. So,
Do you have a clause or something like in there for theft? What happens when that occurs?
so they are supposed to message me within 48 hours of theft. Again, because everybody has digital inventory, they do inventory pretty regularly. That's not going to be the case that they do an entire store inventory every 48 hours. But once they find out that there's some missing items, they're supposed to message me within 48 hours. And then if it's big enough, I think my business insurance is a $500 deductible. So it depends on how much money we're talking of items that are stolen. But generally, I'm not going to hit that deductible with a couple of, keychains or bottle openers or something like that. But it allows me to keep my inventory up to date. And if all of a sudden I'm seeing a trend of theft at this one store, I don't necessarily want to be at that store anymore. So
Absolutely. I agree.
Especially if it's all on you. Because, like, in that event of, like, a small keychain going missing, does it still fall on you, or does some of it fall on the store owner for monitoring for that kind of stuff?
So if they have security cameras, my contract says they're supposed to give me the file of the last 48 hours. Again, they're not going to know. I've never had to ask for it. I've only actually, in the 5 years I've worked with retail stores, I've only had 3 things go missing. And one, I think it was 2 items that broke, that somebody had knocked over at the store because they put it too close to the edge or something. So it's not been a big deal, because I work with people I trust, stores I trust, that I know, because when somebody reaches out to me, I go and I send my wife and a couple of friends and people who shout out the store, or look out the store first, scout it out, and make sure it's something that they feel like, it's not something that somebody's not paying attention at the register and just walk in, walk out, that kind of stuff. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. Corey, what about anything that you've been selling woodworking related?
Yeah, I have a shop, unlockfortress.com, where we sell our fine furniture. And we also sell merch, t-shirts, coffee mugs, whatever you might want there, as well as some plans on that same website. I only have one set of plans. It's for a cross-cut table squaring jig for the SawStop cross-cut table. And that one's actually really helpful. It's a very simple jig, and it just helps you square it every time, since there is no integrated thing that squares it 100% every time. And I can really rely on that when I need a 90-degree cut for sure, perfect accuracy. I will use that jig on the table saw rather than like a miter saw or anything else like that. As far as other products go, I don't really sell mass amount of products, just, mainly our furniture.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Alrighty. Come on, music.
Somebody's watching me. It's my anxiety.
Okay, so this week on What You Watching, my first shout out I want to do was Eccentric Woodworks. You got to go see these boxes to believe them. So you really need to go on to the Instagram or their Instagram, Eccentric Woodworks. The boxes are, yes, thank you for fixing my spelling, Alex. The one that he's making currently has 8 different types of wood in it, between inlays, splines, just different materials that he's using. It's some of the most intricate work I've ever seen as far as box making goes. And it's one of those things where I've always wanted to do it, but I've never like got that far into box making because I just don't, because I'm a retail guy, I don't see a ton of people who purchase them. But when you're doing high end stuff, like let's see if my camera will focus on it here in just a sec. Like you can see how intricate this design is and the different
cool.
Layers that he's doing. So just some incredible work. So that's over at Eccentric Woodworks. Corey?
Yeah. John with Biscuit Tree Woodworks. I've actually been a friend with him for years now. And his last video was about building some planters. But what I find with his videos is the way he teaches, it just comes through so well. He should be a teacher for a living just because of how he can get the material through to your ears, so that it's understandable. And his builds are very approachable for beginners to moderate woodworkers, which is also nice because I think that's most woodworkers out here learning on Instagram, YouTube, other places like that, which is perfect. But yeah, most importantly, his teaching style is definitely some of the best that I've seen on YouTube. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely watch his videos and I'm always very impressed. And I sit there with my notepad and make notes in different sections because, yeah, he's very, very knowledgeable.
Oh yeah, and you once you've had bad instructions versus good instructions on how to do something, like it becomes very clear what good instruction and teaching actually looks like. And because like I felt when people had suggested all of the Lost Art Press books, like the Anarchist series and all of that stuff, I was like, why are people so obsessed with this? Like how can you like describe this in a book like so well that people actually enjoy it? And so in reading it, just the style that was very I don't want to say casual, but it was just so natural and well laid out that it just like it got the point across in a very easy to understand way without overcomplicating things. So yeah, I had great appreciation for those who can teach and teach very effectively.
Definitely.
And that actually kind of intertwines with the first one that I have. So Ania over at Lysick_woodworking. That's Lisek. So this one was very much in a lot of the styles that they show in all those anarchist books, where there's like a lot of like sliding dovetail for like the assembly for like the legs. This one, this I don't know if it was technically a side table or more of a nightstand, but it had so for the top you could see from the ends the sliding like we're talking like big sliding dovetails for the legs, and so 2 of the legs on each side are on the dovetail that goes in, so then it slides in. You can see that profile from the side, and then anyone who has had me go over like end tables and side tables and whatnot have learned that I love the style where there's the top and then you've got the like the standalone drawer that's like a different dimension that just kind of gets popped onto the bottom of that. Like I just love that style, and this also has that same style where it's attached to the bottom instead of it just being a box that pulls out from another box. It's got its own different profile that's not just one single rectangle. It's a little bit more complex. So very well done, Ania.
My next maker I want to shout out, and I apologize for blanking the name as always, is Stolarium, Stolyarium, over on YouTube. They do a lot of like random projects that you see and do it out of like their scraps. They're a furniture maker as well. But this was just a quick YouTube video that they did. It's one of those magnetic levitating cubes just out of a whole bunch of scraps that they glue together and put together.
Cool.
If you've seen them around, they're just a really fun project, but I enjoy their very simple builds, easy to follow, very good teaching, kind of as you were talking about, Corey, too, of just simple to follow and easy steps to learn. So it's great.
Very cool.
Corey?
Yeah, my next one is Dustin with Bearhawk Studio, and it's at Bearhawk Studio on YouTube. And his last video I thought was really cool and a good idea. He built a very unique bench from Lord of the Rings where it has a lot of like detail work, and you'll just have to go to the video and see. But he makes some of it on a CNC and then some of it without the CNC. And so it's interesting to just see the differences of those. And I just believe he's one of those YouTubers that puts in a lot of work into his videos, good audio, good video, good storyline, really good information, and probably doesn't get as many views as he truly deserves. So that's definitely my next pick.
Awesome. Next one that I have, they're out of Australia. Their Instagram handle is Manor Furniture. So manor like good table manners, like spelled that way. This item was not a recent item that they had made, but it came through my feed because they had reposted because I don't know if it was a art what are the name of the art gallery that had purchased it or acquired it for permanent usage. So that's why they had reposted that and saying, hey, this has a new home that's permanently going to be at this location. So it is actually a chair, and they just refer to it as the Banksia chair because they made it out of, apparently the Banksia tree, I'm assuming is a tree in Australia, has these like large seed pods. And what they had done is they had essentially cut down to a cylindrical shape and then made the chair out of the cylindrical shape and essentially attached these end to end to get the bend and shape that they wanted. So it reminds me of like, the balloon animal shapes. So it's basically like, think of like a balloon animal chair. It like has that kind of like aesthetic almost. But because it is a seed pod, it's got, you see where all of the seed pods are. So if you have, what is it, the trypophobia or whatever? Yeah. Not for you if you have trypophobia, but if you don't, it's fine to look at. It's almost kind of like a burl-esque almost finish, if you will, on the surface. Not finish, but that type of look. And it's kind of got that mid-century modern-ish kind of style because of the flowiness of the cylindrical shaping on there. But I just love, like, because it's, I believe the art installation aspect of it was the, like, something that would normally get discarded, like these seed pods, and making something useful out of them. So there's that. artistic perspective on it, as well as a, I don't know, say ecological or economic angle on it, but I just saw it and it was striking, and I thought it looked really beautiful. So that's a wonderful piece.
Very cool.
And my last maker I want to shout out is Baston Metal Creations. So they make cutlery birds out of, or metal birds out of cutlery. But they also then do a whole bunch of really pretty wood backed frames for them. So I'm showing on the picture here, so those who can see as well. So like this is a cherry with Paduke flip backing. And just what's really cool about these birds, like I've seen cutlery shaped animals before, but the level of detail that this person does with their birds is one of the highest ones I've seen. There was another one, like here's a raven that they patinaed the spoons, and just there's so many different ones that they do that I just find is very incredible. So it's taking that, something you've seen before, but definitely mastering it and taking it to another level. So been very impressed.
That's interesting. It makes me feel like I've been living under a rock because I've never seen that before.
The internet is
I see
vast and wide and full of awesome projects.
It sure
I
is.
see a lot of them at local like craft and farmers markets, where people like will go to Goodwill and buy cutlery and shave them. Like here's another one he did that's just not a bird, but it was a beaver fishing.
Wow.
So just
That is
different.
a lot of cutlery. Wow.
Yeah,
And a lot of welding.
and a lot of welding. Yep. Corey, do you have any more you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, I have one more. Tom with his channel is Coolaba Woodworking. So that's at Coolaba Woodworking. It's spelled COOLABAH Woodworking. And he is out of Australia, I believe. And he has a nice thick Australian accent, which I like. And his last video he did some shop storage systems, but 3 different types. I think 1 in 5 minutes, 1 in 5 days, or 1 in 5 hours and 1 in 5 days. And so I thought that was really interesting because it just kind of gives you a nice genre of different ideas that you can do for your shop. And one of them, he kind of went all out and did a pull out cabinet for his clamps, which is kind of cool because clamps, especially our long ones, they're just kind of hard to store unless you're just storing them on a wall or something. But if you want them put away, you do kind of have to build some sort of thing. And so, but that's what he ended up building, is a larger system for that and some other cool things. And yeah, he also has quite interesting videos with a new perspective being in Australia. And yeah, I've been watching him for a while as well.
I love the growing Australian woodworking community. Over the last couple of years, they've definitely exploded both on YouTube, Instagram. We are lucky enough to have Stephen, one of our patrons, is from Australia. I could listen to him read the phone book. I love his accent. But yeah, I love over the last few years how visible the Australian woodworking community has grown. So really cool.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Last one that I have on my list is jack.s.inlays. So obviously everyone knows that I love a good inlay, marquetry, anything in those kind of categories.
What? There's at least one maker every episode.
I gotta. They're just so awesome.
They are.
Probably it's because I know that I could never do it, so I feel like I need to like call out everyone who can to show everyone who is better than me at this, which is everyone. So one that came across my feed that I really liked of theirs was this portrait of I'm assuming is a lioness. And what really stood out to me was the amount of like sharp lines that were changing direction on this for the fur and everything. Because I know like going in and getting that really sharp, nice tight edge and then coming back out, like I know how easy it is for something to kind of go awry when you're going in and out of a corner wedge, whatever you want to call it. and being able to make sure that it doesn't burn or doesn't go off track as you're changing directions, like all of that stuff. So one of those things where it's like it looks great and like you appreciate the level of skill that it takes to achieve that stuff with some of those very specific features that like if you weren't aware of those, it may not have come across of like how much skill it takes to do that type of thing, and especially to get everything to match up how it needs to be.
For sure. Yeah, inlay work is a challenge. It's especially to get sharp edges and things like that. You have to be very careful.
Yeah, sharp edges and getting stuff square always sounds way easier than it is. And honestly, organic shapes are easier because you can fudge it and no one really knows. Whereas right angles, they show everything.
Until you need to make that organic shape repeatable.
Oh, 100%.
Toilet painter go down the hole. Toilet painter go down the hole. Toilet painter? Where toilet painter go?
So tonight's main topic is ambitious projects, and for that sound effect was the referring to the toilet that Corey has made. But for those who don't know, that was from Tiny Toons, the toilet paper potty time episode.
Classic. Goes down the
Splendid.
Yeah. So with that on note, tonight we just kind of wanted to talk to you, Corey, about doing ambitious project for our listeners who want to kind of get into doing big things. How do you get over that hump to start going? What are things when you start a project, what do you plan and so on? But I guess for me, my first question I would have for you on this is how you talked about this a little bit at the beginning, like with the idea with the toilet. When you come up with ideas, because you're making YouTube videos and you're making these large projects like an arch and the spectrograph and stuff, what's your planning process look like, or your discovery process of what when you're coming up with these ideas?
Gotcha. Do you want me to start with the first main question or the second one?
Either.
Well, the first one, to people who want to start building ambitious projects, I would say my number one tip would be that it's not necessarily the skill level of the project itself that you need to learn, believe it or not. The skill in doing ambitious things is the willingness to learn new things along the way. So the skill is actually the ability and willingness to learn. And so whether that means, okay, I'm gonna have to stop where I'm at right now, watch some YouTube videos, do some research, whatever it takes, slow down, learn how to do the next step, or think of ideas, come up with a solution, then move forward. So that would be like number one, is that it's not always like what your skill level is. It's, are you willing to learn stuff along the way? Because there are going to ultimately be things that you don't know. Ambitious projects are ambitious for a reason. And then secondly, when you come upon problems, instead of getting frustrated with the problems, understand that finding solutions for problems is often the fun part in the process. And it can be the most rewarding, because you have to figure out a unique solution for your unique case. And if you do find a right solution and it works, you're like, oh, this is amazing. And over time, as you do projects, that skill set will be refined and you'll be able to solve problems before they even happen. And you'll find yourself screwing up less and succeeding more and making your projects even more ambitious than the last. And I think that's just kind of a beautiful part about doing complex things, no matter what you're making.
Yeah, and especially if you're learning new stuff, that inherently means you're gonna have something that doesn't work, and you're willing to like be okay with something not going right. Because I, like, myself and a lot of other people, like, you want to do well at something immediately, but sometimes it takes screwing something up a few times in order to get something that actually turns out how you want it to. And like, and especially with ambitious projects, they don't have to be physically large, because sometimes there can be very ambitious and difficult projects that are small. And sometimes it can be that the fact that they're tedious, or the repetition behind it makes it difficult, or the repeatability of it can make it difficult. And like you had said, figuring out a way, like if it's something that you need to do a repeated operation, figuring out a way to consistently do something to get the aesthetic that you want or need.
Absolutely.
I know, like, probably the most ambitious project that I had was refinishing the 28 church pews. And that one took me some trial and error to figure out how to strip off the old finish, because I had to go through multiple ways. And of course, I think in the episodes that we had recorded where I had been going through this, I discovered that church pews from that era, like the varnish had a lower melting point, and that's why some of like the ways that I was doing some of the sanding didn't work. So sometimes figuring out, details about the material that you're working with brings insight to how to work it better, and then all of a sudden, like, it just clicks, like you figure out how to do it. Because it was like, for me, I eventually figured out that sanding it at 40 grit at a low speed was how I needed to do it, because it takes off a lot of material without increasing heat. So that was how I was able to overcome that issue. Because that's why, like, the different methods that I had tried weren't getting as good of results as I had wanted. And like, in that instance, I had repeatability on my side, because with that many of those church pews, is like, okay, it's rinse and repeat. Now these should work for the other ones. Whereas sometimes, like we talked about sentimental projects earlier, where it's like, sometimes you've got an ambitious project that has material that is in a finite quantity, that you've got to do that testing on something else first.
Definitely.
Just in case it does go awry, or if you have to figure out a new tool and get accustomed to it. Because I'm sure we've all had a tool that we like tried to use on something, and then like if you're power carving or whatever, and it walks on the material and like screws up the remainder of the finish on something, or it dents the material and you can't like pop it back out or whatever, taking a risk on something that's got a lower chance of that there's low risk on that, because it's just a prototype or a dummy piece of material, just to like refine the skill so it can get to the level that you need for the real project that you're doing.
Definitely, I agree. And speaking of finishing, that's probably the most dense area of woodworking where I've had to find solutions, because even though YouTube videos and such make it seem like a quick, snappy process, finishing starts from the moment you start sanding, or even the moment you start routing and choosing what bit to use and things like that, because they're going to have different fits or different finishes to them. And so like there's so many areas that you can go wrong with the sanding or the finish itself, or like you said, heat with sandpaper, having to fix things after they've been finished, depending on what you're using. All sorts of issues can occur. And at first it can be frustrating. It really can be. But over time, as you begin to fix things properly and you have better results, it's rewarding. And you learn to be okay with screw ups here and there, because it's just another opportunity to learn.
What does your process as far as planning out? So you've come up with the idea. How does your process, when you have something, say, as large as the arch that is going to be multiple steps? How do you plan that out?
So most projects I'm going to be planning inside of Fusion 360. A lot of people pre-plan on paper, pre-draw things, pre-write things out. But the most pre-planning I ever have is a list of projects that I want to build for YouTube, which is crazy. And over time, I develop the visual of what I want it to be just as time progresses, as we get closer to the time of building the project. And once I hop in Fusion, and it used to be SketchUp, but I do Fusion now because of the different things with fillets and organic modeling that I can do in Fusion. And that's when I'm really good at designing and making a project actually come to life, because I can build it in a 3-dimensional space without having to actually be in my shop and build it, and make changes a lot easier, of course. And so for this last project, I even show it in the video of how I kind of played around with different unique bevels on each piece in Fusion. And it turned these, ordinary triangles into something that had way more, much more geometric dimension to it. And that's just using, some bevels in Fusion. So it's a lot easier to do in a 3D modeling space, as I've noticed. The second part, though, is that by modeling it first, I can tell whether I'm going to be confident that it's buildable or not. Am I actually designing something that is practical? Is this going to stand up? Is this base going to actually support what I need it to support? The one project that I could not model first, though, was the toilet. That one, if you've seen the video or videos, I tried modeling it in clay first so that I could get it just a concept of what I wanted. And I fought with this clay through like 3 different attempts and just completely failed on all 3. And ultimately, I realized that I'm just going to have to make this thing out of wood because that's what I do best. And so it was probably the least planned project I've ever done, but it still came out impeccable because I was willing to learn on the fly, try new things on the fly, and figure my way through it.
Oh, definitely. Because I know whenever there's a project that is either at the edge of my ability or I know is going to be a huge undertaking, I usually have basically a path or a route where I think I'd be able to accomplish this, but I'm not married to it, because I know that if something comes up and it's like, oh yeah, I was originally going to, do this portion of this with the router, but then you find out how this bit doesn't really work as well as I had thought on this, or because it's this portion of it's so thick that I need to use a different tool to accomplish whatever operation that I'm trying to do. That knowing that you might have to change routes, it makes it so that you don't get hung up on some of those steps of that project, because with those ambitious projects, usually there's going to be a bunch of steps that you're going to go through, and if you get hung up on each of those, it just slows your momentum down to a crawl, and then it's going to be difficult to mentally get through it to finish. So yeah, being able to take those hurdles on as they come definitely frees you up to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to try this, and if it works, great. If not, I'm just gonna have to find a different method. And sometimes you got to go through multiple to figure out what you want to do, or figure out how you want to do what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes, I definitely agree. While you were talking, I thought of kind of one more thing that I'm blessed and cursed with, and that is kind of an obsessive nature, especially when I want to create a profound piece and video. I obsess about it until it's complete. And so sometimes I'll find myself thinking about it when I'm trying to go to bed, but oftentimes finding solutions at that very moment and having to pick up my phone and put it in my notes app so that I remember to do that the next day. And honestly, that's where some of my best solutions have come. It takes a toll because I lose sleep, but it also has a benefit where I gain solutions. And I mean, the curse out of obsession is sometimes it's hard to focus on normal life stuff, relationship stuff, family stuff. And so it's definitely a blessing and a curse, but I'll take it either way.
So I know myself, like when I do YouTube videos, I procrastinate on getting started on them because I'm worried about the project. Or for example, like right now I'm building an electric guitar from scratch, and doing a course on how to do that in Metric and everything. That's what the video is about. But I know I'm afraid of doing it because I'm using a very expensive piece of maple that's been dyed and everything else like that. Do you have advice for people who are doing these type of projects or doing things that are, getting over that hump of using a huge piece of wood that's expensive and making a project that you're afraid that you don't necessarily have a blueprint for?
Yeah, I do have advice. Not everybody's going to like hearing it, but ultimately, money is replaceable. And so, although you might have a beautiful piece of wood and you're probably not going to be able to get that exact same piece of wood again, in the rare event that you destroyed it past any ability of fixing it, then yeah, you'd have to get a new one. And money is replaceable. Money is abundant. You can make more of it. But ultimately, the fear of losing that can stop you from building a project to begin with. And you're going to lose 100% of the chances you don't take. So I would rather take, 80% of the chances that I have and screw up maybe 1% of them, but succeed on the other 79. Like, that's a lot. So in the end, things are replaceable, except if it's your shells for your grandpa. So don't screw those up, Alex.
Yeah,
but
I could always get I could always 3D print or use another shell casing if I really need to. Since I'm not doing epoxy stuff, there's a little bit less risk on there to do that. But if I was doing that, that would probably be what I would do, is get some other shell casings and try some stuff out on those and make sure it does just fine before using the real deal and doing some type of, test epoxy pour or whatever.
Definitely.
Okay, switching gears from then just advice and everything. Out of all the big projects you've done, we've talked about the Spirograph, the toilet, the cyclone or flame cyclone. What's your favorite one that you've done?
My honest favorite project to date was probably fire-vortex table, because pun intended, that one blew me away.
Do you need to grow eyebrows back after that?
It literally blew me out of my seat. And I have never had a project do that in my entire life. I would never suggest anyone try this project. This did happen on accident. I had no clue what was about to happen, but the exhilaration of a table exploding in front of my face really tops it for me. And I think it's just because it gave me a whole new level of appreciation for the project and appreciation for the fact that I had such good luck and I didn't get hurt. But other than that, I have many projects. Like the toilet, for instance, was one of the most rewarding, because going into it, I did not know if I was going to be able to make a working toilet to start with. And it was supposed to just be a walnut toilet. That's it. But then it ended up turning into like a working and running bidet with heated water, a heated seat, heated air drying, and the flush works perfectly. Like, I was astounded that I could get everything to work out of solid wood like that. So yeah, that would kind of be my two answers.
And can you tell us how many billiard balls can you flush in that toilet at once? That's like the ultimate test that they show It's like how many like golf balls or billiard balls that can flush
Yeah.
down in one
Yeah,
flush.
we flushed like 9 golf balls. You can't flush a billiard ball though. That's it's too big.
Yeah, they don't make them like they used to, right? Low flow these days, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know if the billiard ball was ever a test, but it was definitely ping pong balls and golf balls. And yeah, we did the golf ball test, and that was nine of them, so plenty.
On outside of just the giant ambitious projects, you're also a fine furniture maker, and you've been on television and had articles and stuff written about you and so on. What do you like doing the most? I should say, and what do you say you specialize in as far as furniture goes?
Well, I have kind of 2 levels to that question. The first level is I don't necessarily make furniture. I make an experience and film that experience. And my product is actually the video. And so that's for the viewers to experience. And so projects are a lot of times designed around how they're going to be filmed for the video, the exhilaration that they can create for the viewer. And yeah, so there's some depth to that. But as far as building furniture as a woodworker, I don't necessarily have a preference on what I like to build. Tables are definitely a fun one, but when I'm building something completely new and out of my realm of expertise, that's usually my favorite. And so that doesn't really have a classification. It just means that I am extremely challenged the entire time. It also creates a better video because the audience can see that I'm extremely challenged the whole time. And so there's just, a lot more to it that way. But, as a simple answer, I would say fine art and tables, making a table from fine art basically is probably my favorite.
Alex, do you have any more questions?
Because let's see. So we had mentioned like the favorite project, and maybe I'll divvy that out to favorite to build versus like favorite one where it was like maybe like the end result was your favorite of like aesthetic versus the favorite. Oh, he kind of did answer that a little bit with like the table, right? Maybe I just reframed the same question as the same.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the dragon toilet, absolutely, I was shocked. I've never carved a dragon in my entire life, and there were 2 dragons carved onto that toilet. And there is one thing I'm sad about though, and that is I like the dragon on the toilet's left side more. And that side is actually against a wall in my house. But the reason I put that dragon there is because it has a tail wrapping around to the other side. And artistically, I knew that if someone came and looked at the right side, that they would see a tail wrapping around and be curious to actually look at the other side. And I think that's what good art does. Well, that's what great art does, is it hides certain things so that you can see it and you're like, wait a second, is there more to this? And then you walk around it and you're like, oh my gosh, they spent another month on this side too. And so ultimately I did both sides of it because we are obviously going to take that with us wherever we go. And regardless of the house layout now, we'll have a dragon on either side.
I mean, if you ever do sell the house, I mean, that probably would be a pretty awesome selling point, is the dragon tattoo. Or sorry, not the dragon tattoo, the dragon toilet. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting the, like, instead of the girl with the dragon tattoo, it's probably going to be the girl with the dragon toilet now.
Yeah, get those 2
that pop in my head phrases.
Yeah.
I wonder, does that help or hurt the resale value of the house?
Well,
awesome.
for liability reasons, I probably wouldn't keep it with anyone else other than myself, because
Fair.
I know the first signs of it failing, and we're talking about a solid wood toilet here. When the day comes, it will eventually start getting ruined, and I can see those signs, uninstall it, either figure out how to fix it or make it better, or turn it into like an art piece for the garden or something.
Because I can't remember. Did you use spar varnish for the coating it, or was it
I
epoxy?
used epoxy, and then basically a spar varnish, Total Boat Halcyon for the exterior, mainly because it is waterproof, but also a satin finish. So it's nice to get that like beautiful satiny finish to it on the outside, because epoxy doesn't leave that nice luster. It's also hard to get like perfectly smooth because epoxy cures so slow. So
So, I'm just curious. So you're in Colorado. What part of Colorado are you in?
I'm in Pueblo now, but I used to be in Denver.
Okay. Um, I see you work mainly with walnut, or at least a lot of your designs are with walnut and everything. Where do you get locally? Do you ship from somebody here on the West Coast?
Yeah, so I get my walnut from Austin Hardwoods of Denver. I still drive the 2 hours up to Denver, mainly because they source it, and I can get rough sawn boards that I don't have to pay for milling. I don't have to pay for straight edge cuts. I can get it rough sawn, so I'm not paying for any unnecessary steps in the process. And yeah, that's the only place that I've found that specific type. The local woodcrafts and rocklers, they do source walnut here in Colorado, but a lot of it's going to be somewhat milled. So you're going to be paying for that milling.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm blessed. I live in the Portland metro area, and so we've got Gobi walnut near us. I was just there this weekend, and it was. I always, every time I go there, I'm always just like, I'm so happy I live here. One of my
Walnut
UFO
grows in other
bases I
places
needed-
than just the West Coast, Mr. Duffy. It grows
No, it
in other
doesn't.
places.
Look at this. Look at this piece of rainbow. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, they have some awesome wood.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Alex, anything else from you?
Nope. I could rephrase more of your questions if you want.
No, I think we're good on that. Well, on that note,
Good news, everyone.
so let's talk about maker news. Alex, do you want to go?
Oh, I've said it many times, but we're getting very close to the Midwest Maker Meetup that's in Omaha on the 16th of May. So that'll be coming up here sooner than we know it. And then, plainwellness.org has a bunch of courses, but I know that, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on her name? We just had her on. Why am I blanking on her name? Oh my gosh, you're just gonna let me struggle out here, aren't you?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know it.
Sheller Creek Woodcraft. I am so sorry. I have to see if I can find it in notes. No, it's not in notes. Is it? It's Ashley, right?
Yes.
Piper. Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry, I know the handle, but I forget the name sometimes. Gosh, you just let me out to dry.
I did. I had to leave. You know, you give me hard tough time on names. I'm the name guy, usually bad on names. So
Fair enough. So she's got the scale model making 101, which is one that I am super intrigued with. I probably should have checked to see if there were still open spots on that one before mentioning it, but she's got lots of classes on plain wellness, and of course there's other instructors on there that teach other topics on there. I know she's got more than one class that she teaches, so there's lots of fun ones that are both in person as well as virtual, which that one I believe is virtual.
Mm-hmm. And as of this podcast going live on the 6th, tickets for the Texas Woodworking Show are now for sale. So if you go to the Texas Woodworking Festival and find your tickets there, they've got the education tickets are open now, along with general admission tickets as well. So.
Oh,
Corey,
and we have the.
Oh, go ahead, Alex.
We have the day that we're doing our Patreon call.
Yes.
We don't have the time, but we have the day on there. So
there's a poll on Patreon for you to pick the time, and it will post that time once all the votes come in. But that day is
just a second.
Alex.
I haven't had this one before, so it's not as bad because I haven't had it before. May 30th. May 30th.
Yep.
May 30th of 2026.
Yes. So in a couple of weeks, make sure you go on the Patreon to do your poll for the time of what works for you guys. But we'll see you then. And remember, you can sign up at What You Making Show at Patreon to become a patron. Corey, for those who want to find you and learn more about you, where do they go?
Primarily YouTube. So YouTube/Fortress Fine Woodworks. But if you want some reels or shorts, you can go to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And if you want to learn more about in-depth guidance on each build, that's Patreon. We have 3 tiers, and you can pick your tier based on your budget. And the tier I would suggest is the Fortress Watchtower. It's for $15 USD, and you'll basically get all of our exclusive Patreon videos for each project, and it accounts to hours per project. So if the YouTube video is a half an hour, we still have like 2 hours of footage on Patreon. And I talk specifically to the camera about what I'm doing, how, why, and all of the important information to actually learn the process.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Corey.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Yeah. And remember, friends, until we see you.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night. Don't let your projects go down the toilet.